nice day.
So a lot of people have asked me about this scene. Is it possible to shoot a smiley face into a target at that distance? Absolutely. Is it possible to do it while you're winking and blinking over here? Probably not. But it's Mel Gibson, so whether it's a Scottish Claymore, a Cherokee Tomahawk, or a Beretta 92, he's gonna get the job done. Hey guys, this is Ed. I'm a certified firearms instructor and range safety officer. Today, we're checking out shooting range scenes in movies and TV and checking them for safety violations. Welcome to the Instructor Corner.
See what you got.
Hey, do you need like goggles or earplugs or anything like that?
No, usually the bad guys don't give us time to put on all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so this is a pretty typical indoor shooting range. You have your individual firing lanes. You have those ballistic dividers. Oh, come on, guys. No ear pro, no eye protection. Wait, can we rewind real quick? Okay, they just walked past a sign that said ear and eye protection required. All right, any shooting range, especially indoor shooting ranges, are going to have two signs. I guarantee that. First is going to be the gun safety rules. Treat all guns as if they're loaded. Never point a gun at anything you're not willing to shoot or destroy. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and know your target and what's beyond. That's the first sign. Second sign that these guys just walked by is to always have eye and ear protection on while you're on the range. So, safety violation number 1.
Shoot the gun.
Okay, all right, ready? Here we go. Damn it! I don't think the sight on the gun is quite calibrated. The way I was shooting, it looks a little...
Yeah, it's off by a centimeter or two.
Okay, so a lot to digest in this scene. First of all, I want to know what kind of Glock Ice Cube is shooting. It looks like a Generation 3 or 4 Glock 17, because it has the finger grooves. Alright, let's check out that target real quick. Alright, those are not the holes from a 9mm. At least not the ones in the middle, anyway. The ones on the side, maybe. Yeah, those holes in the middle look like a 12 gauge wad or a slug went through them. A 9mm hole is very, very small, and especially target rounds, they're just going to zip through that paper without ripping it too much. The holes on the side could be 9mm. Okay, and there are way too many holes in that target.
Go.
Kevin Hart shot 6 times, didn't hit the target once. Ice Cube shot 7 times, and I see at least 12 holes in that target, not including the gigantic ones in the middle. So some Hollywood magic there. Let's go on.
That's why I like shotguns. I'm more of a shotgun specialist because I need both in my hands. Because my upper body, I've been doing push-ups. So I think all my strength is up here. That's why when I get a gun, it has to be a little heavy. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. Street sweeper.
Alright, so borrowing the shotgun from the guy in the other lane, it's exactly the way I would have done it. Muzzle pointed either straight up or straight down, finger not anywhere near the trigger. Okay, and it looks like it was an empty chamber, so there was not a live shell in there to prevent any type of negligent discharge that might happen. And that's exactly why Ice Cube had to rack it one time before giving it to Kevin Hart.
Oh, it's on now! Oh,
Got a little bit of kick to it.
my stomach and my ass.
Okay, pause here. So a little OTT moment. I don't know why Hollywood has this trope about people who get hit by shotguns or fire shotguns being blown into the next county. Shotguns do have more power than a rifle or a handgun might, but not that much. And the guy said it was loaded with Magnum loads.
Be careful, let's get Magnum loads. That's why when I get a gun.
Okay, in terms of a 12 gauge, all a Magnum really means is that that shell is loaded with more powder or hotter burning powder, and it has more power as a result, and you'll have more felt recoil. If your typical 12 gauge shotgun shell is 2 3/4 inches long. A Magnum shell is usually 3 inches, or a Super Magnum might have 3.5 inches. And that extra length is more room for powder to be stored in the shell, so it's going to have larger felt recoil. Okay, good job, Kevin, on keeping his finger off the trigger. And bad job, Kevin, on waving that shotgun around like a flag. Small, subtle moment, but I really like the fact that the directors put it in. You'll notice the people in the other lanes kind of popped their heads out in order to see what was going on. They did one of these, a kind of backwards lean, and they just turned their head, which is exactly what you want to do if you might want to see what's going on, you know, in the other firing lanes, or if there's something going on in the range. What you don't want to do is, if you're shooting a gun like this, all of a sudden you turn your entire upper body with the gun to see what's going on, and now you're flagging everybody down the range. So the idea that they kept their bodies pointed forward, kept the guns probably sighted down on target, and all they did was this little lean and turned their head. I like that detail. All right, so right along in terms of range safety, no ear pro, no eye pro. Kevin's waving that shotgun around like a white flag. And Ice Cube, I don't love the way that his muzzle direction is with the Glock when he's checking the sights, but I'll give him a pass for that. But there were moments of good range safety, which I liked, so I'll give this a 6 out of 10. Next up, Beverly Hills Cop 2. God, I love this movie. I love Eddie Murphy. I wanted to be Eddie Murphy, except I'm not that funny. All right, so what you're seeing here is a virtual or simulated shooting range. These places are great because they are not as boring as shooting at a static target on a flat range. They do induce a little bit more stress in your mind, requiring a little more skill in order to put accurate shots on target. So the red laser that's mounted on the firearm, that is connected to a battery pack and a computer that is going to keep track of your hits and your misses on target. A lot like playing laser tag when you were little and you had something that kept track of when you hit your target or did not. These guys are shooting blanks, so they do simulate the real recoil of a firearm, but they don't make holes, downrange, unless you're Detective Axel Foley in about 3 seconds. Pause right here. I see at least 4 safety violations in less than 3 seconds. All right, let's name them. Number 1, not treating the gun as if it's loaded. I'm not going to go into that because you guys are all intelligent viewers. So number 2, pointing that gun at things that you are not willing to shoot or destroy. Some people might say that gun had locked open, there are no more live rounds that are in the magazine or the chamber. I do not care. If I'm on a shooting range, I do not want a firearm pointed in my general direction, whether it is loaded or whether it's unloaded. Every firearms instructor and range safety officer has heard this excuse, and it frustrates us every single time.
Told you it was unloaded. Told you.
All right, next violation. Keeping your finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard, I would add, until you are ready to shoot. Axel's little cowboy revolver flip that he does before holstering, no. Your finger is way inside the trigger groove and it's probably rolling around on the trigger or on the trigger guard. No, Axel. Okay, and finally, not knowing your target and what's beyond. Axel just put 3 live rounds through those virtual screens and he probably had no idea what was behind them. There could be an office. There could be electronics. There could be Little Bo Peep and her 3 sheep, okay? Knowing your target and what's beyond is absolutely critical for firearm safety. Again, where's the ear pro? Where's the eye pro? I swear Hollywood wants all of our actors to go deaf when this happens. So Beverly Hills Cop 2, we have multiple safety violations. I'm going to have to give this a 2 out of 10. So next up, Suicide Squad.
Say, the firing pin is filed down, right? Mag full of dummy rounds. If I pull the trigger, nothing happens.
Okay, and that is your garden variety, breaking all 4 safety rules, not to mention a couple of laws, threatening somebody's life. So let's move on.
Y'all jokers must be crazy.
Oh yes, shooting without eye or ear protection? Y'all jokers definitely be crazy. Might as well call you Death Shot. Okay, I love this range setup. First of all, you've got those nice tall HESCO barriers on the sides and the back of the range. You've got steel targets. I absolutely love shooting steel. And that table of firearms, somebody knew what they were doing because they're all pointed downrange. All the slides and charging handles are locked back. Chambers are open, magazines are out, so anybody who walks by is going to be able to tell that all those firearms are unloaded and safe. This is the exact setup that we would use with any of our students in our classes, or if you were teaching somebody how to shoot on the range for the first time. So when shooting steel, there are some minimum safe distances that you want to set up your targets to prevent any type of frag or ricochets that may be coming back at you. Usually for handgun, that's going to be anywhere between 10 and 25 yards. If you're shooting rifle, it's going to be closer to about 100. This range does look like it's set up with the steel targets at about 10 to 25, so that's the minimum distance. I would keep these for shooting handgun. That's way too close for rifle though. So Deadshot is shooting a Mark 18. That is a M4 lower with a shortened, roided out upper receiver. Okay, so I've never seen that before. Early model M4 lower receivers had a selective fire switch for safe, semi-automatic, and 3-burst. Military decided to swap out the 3-burst mode for fully automatic in later M4 lower receivers. However, Deadshot's rifle seems to be capable of doing both. Never seen that before. Pretty cool. Okay, so Suicide Squad, highly entertaining. If we can forget the whole Deadshot threatening somebody's life in the beginning, the range safety, it was okay. I like the way the guns were set up. I like the way the range was set up. I'm going to have to give this a 7 out of 10. Next up, Lethal Weapon.
Step back, baby. Let me show you what an old man can do. Just warming up, just warming up. Watch carefully.
Ceasefire on number 7, number 8. Weapons in place position. Downrange target.
Hey, look at that, will you? Not bad for an old man.
Okay, step aside, old man.
Sergeant Dennis, call your watch captain. Sergeant Dennis.
Have a nice day.
Okay, so we see 2 different types of drills being practiced by the detectives in this scene. Danny Glover is doing what we call Draw Fire 1 from Concealed, which involves clearing any type of clothing, accessing your firearm, being able to present it on target without flagging yourself or anybody else unintentionally, and being able to get 1 effective round on target. But it looks like he'd practiced that before, so good job. And he's shooting a Smith & Wesson Model 19. And at that distance of about 10 yards, that's not a difficult shot. He got one straight through the light switch. Yeah, after a couple sessions, you could absolutely do that. The real trick to that is being able to do that effectively while under stress or under fire. In comparison, Mel Gibson is practicing what we call sighted fire. This involves loading the firearm, taking your time in order to get the sights on target, and then having an effective trigger press each and every single time. This is obviously less difficult than Draw Fire 1 from Concealed because it doesn't involve all the extra movement of clearing your clothing, being able to access the firearm, being able to pull the firearm out and get it on target without flagging anybody and without making the gun waver too much. Okay? You're taking a lot of the movement error out with sighted fire, which is why we start with that when we're training new shooters. Okay, so a lot of people have asked me about this scene. Is it possible to shoot a smiley face into your target at that distance? Absolutely. Is it possible to do it when you're winking and blinking over here with a herky-jerky trigger? Probably not. Mel Gibson is shooting a Beretta 92 FS, which absolutely is a firearm that is capable of shooting a smiley face at a 25-yard target. The real trick is that there's a lot of extraneous movement that's happening when he's shooting. You'll notice he's kind of blinking in anticipation of the gun going off each time. So it's almost like he's closing his eyes right before he presses the trigger. Also, there is a lot of extraneous finger movement when it comes to the trigger. So what are we talking about? For studio safety, that is going to be our safe direction. There is nobody down in that direction at all. All firearms are empty and rendered safe, which we will demonstrate right now with this Jericho 941, which is going to be our Beretta 92 stand-in. You'll be able to verify that magazine is out, slide is locked back with chamber empty, and there is nothing in the pipe. This firearm has been now rendered safe. With this Jericho 941, there's going to be a long trigger press. The gun will cycle, and the gun is ready to shoot again. What Mel Gibson is doing is pressing the trigger, press, 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 press. Gun will cycle. His finger comes completely off the trigger, and then he presses the trigger again. This is a lot of extraneous movement on this trigger. The more movement we can take out of the trigger, the more accurate you're going to be. So ideally, we teach our students to press the trigger, gun will cycle, and we have them release the trigger just until you hear and feel that tangible click, and press the trigger again. This eliminates a lot of the extraneous movement of taking your finger completely off the trigger or all the way out here and having all this movement to press the trigger again. The best shooters in the world practice something called reset on recoil, which means they're just letting go of that trigger to the reset point as the slide is coming back during recoil. Once the gun is done recoiling, they're ready to press that trigger again. This allows for a lot faster shooting as well as more accurate shooting because it eliminates a lot of the extraneous finger movement when it comes to resetting the trigger. Alright, so Lethal Weapon. If I suspend a little bit of the marksmanship magic that was kind of going on, I would still rate this a 9 out of 10 for range safety.
Fire! Please fire on the firing line! You stupid goddamn shave-tailed son of a bitch! You keep your fucking weapon pointed downrange or I will shove that fucking piece up your sorry fucking ass.
Don't look at me, Lieutenant. Gunny's right.
Oh dear. So firearms instructors and range safety officers come in all types of shapes and sizes, just like guns, just like people. A lot of the time they are former law enforcement or former military, and they've adopted this kind of tougher than nails type of attitude, because oftentimes it's what they went through when they were going through training as well. Having said that, all of us do have pretty loud and bellowy voices. The reason being is you're shooting guns and you're wearing ear protection, meaning the last thing we want is for somebody to misunderstand us or mishear us or not hear us at all, and that leads to a negligent discharge. In this scene, I think Gunny is pissed because this guy had prior firearms instructor either in basic training or perhaps at his MOS school, and he's being careless with the safety rules. He's knowingly not following them, even though he had the proper instruction. There's a difference between carelessness and ignorance. Ignorance is not knowing the safety rules. Carelessness is knowing the safety rules and willingly breaking them. I've never had to throw a fistful of live rounds or snatched a gun out of somebody's hands, racked it, and then thrust it back into their chest. There were times where I might have had to push somebody's muzzle out of the way or remind somebody in a very loud manner to keep their finger off the trigger if they were off the target. All range safety officers and instructors want to maintain safety for everybody that's on their range. So the Pacific. This is during wartime. There is a proper firing range. There's a range safety officer, and for the most part, firearm safety is being followed with the exception of the one gentleman. I'm going to give the Pacific a 8 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching these clips with me. Look out for part 2 and stay safe out there. If you enjoyed this video, why not click on one of the ones above?